don't think that your jawline will make you move mountains in the world, right? It's not because you have a certain height and jawline and tan, or you take X amount of peptides, that's going to make women crawl to you, okay? But increasing your looks will give you better first impressions, that is for sure, before you even speak, right? But there's a deeper layer into this with hormone optimization, right? Making sure that you're focused, you're energized, you know where you're going. Because if you have a strong body and your hormones are optimized, your body composition is optimized, that's really going to start shaping, and questions are going to start to come up, like, what am I meant to do in this life? And that's what we're going to tackle. But this is the foundation to look really unrecognizable in 4 months. If you want to build a solid body the nonchalant way, the easy way, you want to look great, fast, this is the video for you. So let's dive in. The system reboot. All right, so we're going to talk about the movie star body, the key lifestyle habits, hormone optimization, skincare, and yeah, that's going to make sort of the, I would call it more soft maxing, right? We're not going to use extreme measures. You can look great through natural measures, okay? So what's the movie star body? Well, it's the opposite of a bodybuilder's physique. It's more on the athletic side. It's robust, right? It's capable. It's a lean physique. It sort of gives the wow effect on camera. And that really gives you that sort of presence. When you walk into a room and people kind of look twice, they can't put their finger on it as to why you catch their attention. That's the movie star body. Well, why? Why you want to do this? Because first impressions, have much more weight than ever before now. And this will really skyrocket your quality of life. It's going to give you better future business opportunities, the way you carry yourself, right? It's going to give you more networking connections and higher quality interactions with women. Because why? Well, you're going to have clearer signals of interest, right? They're going to look at you in a certain way. It's going to be easy to pinpoint. Really, it's just an invitation for you to approach. And at that point, it's not really a cold approach anymore, right? There's this thing where you just got to focus on approach. It's just, I think it's a bad way to go. Because not only you put too much importance on an outcome because you're going out solely for the focus on talking to girls. You're almost like forcing yourself into an activity. It should be more part of your life, right? I'm not saying you should not approach at all. What I'm saying is you should optimize your body first, but also, doing this as, you're transforming. And as you improve your physique and all of that, you're going to get higher signals of interest. And that's when you can capitalize on that, approach them, and just talk like a normal fucking human being, okay? But I digress here. What I'm saying is that people judge, right? And this will hook them in even before you get the chance to open your mouth, okay? How? We're going to follow the Commanding Physique Blueprint step by step. I will put it down in the description of this video. So when will you reach this? Well, it's really up to you, okay? If you stick with it, you'll probably see noticeable changes in about 3 months, 4 months. You'll be very proud in 6 months because you've totally shifted your identity, right? It's become a part of you at that point. And you don't need motivation to go to the gym or just include, fitness, health, and all of that as part of your life. In 12 months, you might be unrecognizable, okay? You're just going to evolve. You're going to look back at old pictures or maybe videos you make, and you're just almost not going to recognize yourself. Okay, and that's a strong sign of growth. But if you're data-driven and want a clear timeline for your case, I'll show you later. So this was me when man, I was kind of slacking at that point. I was in Thailand here, but just to show that it's really an inverted triangle we're looking after. And between the shoulders and the waist, we want about a 1.6 ratio, okay? And the waist, if you compare it to your height, should be about 45% of your height. So if I'm 180 centimeters, that should be about 31 inches and some change, right? Also, vascularity is a strong sign of a primal physique, especially around the forearms. I think this is a muscle that is quite underrated because, showing grip strength, I mean, you can imagine what women are imagining when you have good grip strength, but it's just also a sign of being capable, right? Being manual. It's something that is manly. And of course, a V taper, you want to develop back, all right? And that's really going to enhance that V look we're after. And to do that, no cycles, nothing like that, not even peptides. This is 100% natural, and you can achieve this. I'm not special. I can hardly bench above 225 on flat, okay? I can chin up probably 75 pounds attached to me for 5 reps, okay? So I'm good relatively with body weight, so have good relative strength, but these are not massive numbers. You don't need to bench 3 plates to have a great look, right? It's all about consistency, having the right lifestyle, and just having a key supplement stack that's going to get you to where you want to be. And sleep, obviously, is a big thing. I would say that's more towards closer to 11% body fat. That was when I was a bit leaner. At a time during COVID where all I was doing was body weight workouts, probably closer to 10% there. Okay. But now we should touch on the reasons why you don't really have the body you want right now. And there's a key few reasons as to why. Number one is, you stay in fat loss mode for too long. You're constantly in a deficit. And eventually your metabolic rate is going to be too low. It's going to put your body in a constant survival mode. And what survival mode means is that you have high cortisol. It's like you're running from a lion constantly. And when you have high cortisol, survival means holding on to body fat, because guess what? If you go below 5%, 4%, correct me on that, but there's a certain metric that if you go below that, body fat percentage-wise, well, you just fucking die. Okay, and it's probably around 3-4%. So when you're constantly in fight or flight, you're not in testosterone production mode. So people lately talk on X about cortisol, how cortisol is great and you should have more and all of that. I think that's just total bullshit. What they mean is that having cortisol kind of puts a fire up your ass, right? It's good to have some stress in your life when it comes to, changing, because the pain of not changing is stronger than the pain of, changing. So it's good. It's a good catalyst to improve your life. But if you're constantly running, right, from a lion, well, it's just you're gonna burn out. You're gonna crash out, right? So it's important to have balance. And when you're constantly in fat loss mode, it's really gonna be hard to build muscle, and you're constantly gonna have to add some cardio or increase your deficit to lose more weight, and more muscle loss is going to occur from that. So it defeats the purpose. Number 2, you avoid carbs like it's the plague, right? And once again, your cortisol's high, your sleep is mediocre, and as a result, it kind of puts your body in a constant state of stress, which also is going to elevate your cortisol and lower your testosterone, okay? I'm kind of saying the same thing here. I think I talk too much on reason number 1. But really high cortisol and not having enough carbs, because when you eat carbs, this raises your insulin. That's the kill switch of cortisol, if you didn't know, right? That's why carbs is a good thing, because it also fuels your workout, improves your recovery, and all of that. But when you have a lack of it, it kills your mood, right? Your life drive, your sex drive, your focus, your energy, decision making, and all of that. So that's not good if you avoid carbs and just go full keto. That's gay, to be honest. Number 3, on top of chasing fat loss endlessly, okay, you add cardio constantly after your resistance training, perhaps, right? Maybe you add some HIIT training. You chase muscle pumps instead of progressive overload. Okay, you chase a precise rep number instead of a rep range with an RPE, which is a rate of perceived exertion. I'm throwing a bunch of reasons in reason number 3. What I mean with the rep range is if you just focus on a rep number, well, you're just going to reach your number and then boom, bring the weights down. But you probably had way more reps in the tank. So it's good to have a rep range. That is perhaps, a range of 3 to 4 reps. So if let's say you have a range of 8 to 12 reps, you probably need to fall within that range with a rate of perceived exertion of 8 or 9 max out of 10. That means if the RPE is 8, that means you had 2 reps left in the tank if a gun would be pointed at your head. Okay, 9 is you only add 1 more. 10 is that was your max. It's good to go to failure sometimes, but if you want to really progress session by session, it's good to leave at least 1 rep in the tank, because we're natural, right? We need to recover. That's how we grow. So if you constantly push failure, drop sets and supersets, and just exhaust the muscle every time, it's just gonna kill your recovery. And when you lack recovery, that, yeah, you guessed it, elevates your cortisol also. So stop trying to achieve everything all at the same time, right? And stop using the wrong tools. If you want to cut efficiently, okay, if you want to lean down without feeling like you're terminally ill, okay, well, you need to preserve your strength as much as possible while being in the deficit. Okay, so that means your sessions are going to be intense, so you're going to lift heavy, not many times per week, perhaps 2-3 days per week, just to maintain your strength as much as possible. You might only need 2 sets to do that, like 2 sets on the bench press, for example, to just maintain your strength. The longer you can maintain that strength while being in the deficit, okay, that you're going to retain much more muscle, and your fat loss is going to come mainly from water weight, but also fat tissue. You're also going to lose from muscle. That's a given, no matter what, but the percentage is going to be much more minimal, okay? My goodness, I'm digressing, but hope you're getting value from this so far. And number 4, it's alcohol, bro. Drugs, vaping, refined oils, added sugars, fake dopamine, late nights, right? You're clubbing, fatty processed foods right before bed. But the biggest reasons is you're too comfortable. And maybe you're blaming it on genetics. You cope, right? Just having this mentality of just having fake dopamine all the time, distractions, getting quick rewards without effort. I'm not saying you shouldn't have fun. Like, I go clubbing once in a while. But, I'm getting a bit older now, and the night scene is a bit different. It's more lounge type of night scene, especially where I'm about to go. But you can still have fun, but eventually you become what you do repeatedly, right? So if you constantly live a lifestyle of being in clubs and drinking and eating fast foods right before bed because you're hungry after you've drank a few drinks, and then the food is sitting in the stomach, you're not getting proper deep sleep, and you're overshooting your calories, that elevates your cortisol next thing in the morning. And then your brain is all foggy because of the alcohol, you're dehydrated, your decision making is poor, you don't feel productive, you're not leveling up, right? You don't feel like working on your side business on the weekend because you're just hungover. So you rely on just catching a new TV show, and you're not advancing. It takes you all the way up to Tuesday, Wednesday to recover. Then you're back at it on Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And you repeat this. This could last for months or even years. And I get it. Maybe you're in your early 20s. I'm targeting mainly guys who are approaching 30, but if you're around that age, dude, time is flying. Don't forget that. You think you have enough time, but you probably don't. Don't stress yourself, though. It's good to have fun, but find a balance. Sometimes I have days where I sort of regret not having partied that much in my 20s. But I did my best to try to keep everything balanced. Having time for fun every now and then, but also figuring stuff out. Trying different things. Dude, in my 20s, I've tried so many careers, so many paths, and some I admit I didn't go all out. I was kind of like researching, but never pulling the trigger really on putting myself out there because I feared judgment, right? Being judged. Or just fear of failing, or fear of success is also one thing. But I think it's good to pick something, go all out, but also don't forget to have fun every now and then, right? Enough for that. All right. Next, we're going to touch on key lifestyle habits. This is really important because this, I believe, delivers 80% of your results. So sleep, that's really it's the most important. It's like the foundation of a house, okay? Because sleep, like I said, is where you recover, produce growth hormone, testosterone, all of these anabolic hormones, right? And you repair muscle tissue from past workouts, right? And sleep equals growth. And you need about 7 to 9 hours of sleep. That is uninterrupted, right? So if you go to bed at midnight and you wake up at 7, doesn't mean you got 7 hours. If you have something like a Whoop, it's going to tell you how many hours you've fallen asleep. I would say that if I go to bed at midnight, I probably need to wake up around 9-ish to get at least that 7.5, 8 hours of sleep, okay? So that's a non-negotiable. Hydration. It clears your toxins, right? Improves digestion, focus, mental clarity, improves your skin, vascularity, and overall, I think 3 to 4 liters per day is a good rule of thumb. And what I would do, a big problem I think people do is they try to chug everything. Maybe they try to catch up on their consumption. But when you chug, you just pee it all out, right? You go more frequently to the bathroom. And that really kind of defeats the purpose of hydration. So you want to drink regularly, but not by a lot. In the morning, it's fine to chug it out, chug one out, duke it out. But it's good after that to regularly, take sips and have a bottle with you. Next is steps. If you want to be lean effortlessly, steps is the way. Okay, and at least, I put 8 there, but man, at least 10K. It's not a big deal. It's not that hard, right? This will keep the blood flowing, improve recovery, and the best thing is that it doesn't affect your strength training. Okay, it's not going to increase your appetite like cardio does. And believe it or not, it's going to burn an extra 200 to 400 calories per day, okay, depending on the climate you're in and all of that. If you count that up, that's about 6 to 8K, as far as calories per month that you're gonna burn extra. I'm being conservative there, I believe. It can get to the 10, 12K, right? If you walk a lot, drink a lot of water, and just eat a lot of whole foods in general, because the thermic effect of feeding and all of that, right? So yes, that's a great tool for not only staying lean, but also improving recovery. Getting some sun also is great for testosterone. Whole foods, 80% of your calories, I think, should come from that. Non-negotiable, right? Whole foods is simple. What has one ingredient on the label? That's it. Meats, rice, potatoes, fruits, veggies, nuts, seeds, all of that. Fish. Because when you eat processed foods, it increases inflammation. Inflammation is a stress response. When you're inflamed, you're dealing with that stress. So it's not the most optimal environment for your body. Okay? And that's why that can cause bloating, mental fog, anxiety, even laziness. Anything really not conducive to having optimal testosterone levels. Now, fibers. I'm sure some of you have researched gut, what that is, right? Your gut is the second brain, right? We're not what we eat, really. We are what we digest. If you eat a good diet, but your gut is fucked up, you're not going to be able to absorb all these quality nutrients, and you're still going to have some health problems. So it's really important to have fibers, prebiotics, probiotics into your diets, okay? Aim for about 15 grams for every 1,000 calories. Do I follow this all the time? Not really, but I try to at least get some solid servings of fruits daily, with every meal. Veggies are overrated, I think, but it's good to have them every now and then, right? Well, what I do is, since, probiotics and all of that is good, I try, drink some kombucha here and there. Kimchi is a great thing. Sauerkraut, right? Yogurt. So all of these things could be good, and you can even take enzyme supplements for that. That can help with that. These are some examples that you can get some fibers with legumes, whole grains, veggies, fruits, like berries especially, nuts, seeds. And it's good to increase gradually if you're not used to eating fibers. Otherwise, it might make your stomach a bit upset in the beginning. Also, I forget, did I say oats? Oats is also a good source of fiber. Now, sun exposure. Going outside, I touched on it. It's not only you kind of get a double whammy from getting your steps in, but it also improves your circadian rhythm. Right? You get a dose of vitamin D, which, tons of science on this, but it's proven to be a major building block for producing natural testosterone. Because what we call the Leydig cells, this is in the testes, okay? Inside there's vitamin D receptors, an enzyme that's going to convert inactive vitamin D to its active form. And when the vitamin D levels are optimized inside, these cells will function better, okay, leading to increased testosterone synthesis, right? It's sort of like where it all starts, right? If you have dysfunctional cells like these, like Leydig, well, it's just not going to be the most optimal powerhouse to make those happen, right? A side note here, living in northern climates where the sun is rare can lead to a high vitamin D deficiency. So it's also very important to supplement vitamin D daily. I do also, for maximum hormone optimization. There's a good formula here you can follow that is safe, but do your own research. I'm not saying you should take that, okay? You take your body weight in pounds divided by 25, then multiply by 1,000. That should give you how many IUs you need. So for me, for example, if I'm 185, I'm not that right now, but divided by 25, multiplied by 1,000, that's 7,400 IUs. If you go 7,500 because you only have 2,500 per pill, that's fine, okay? You're not gonna die. For sleep, I got a guide here. There's 11 tips. You might know some of those, but I think some of them you might be surprised. I touch on some supplements also, touching on sleep. But if you really look at these key tips I've put on the right, if you have consistency in your sleep schedule, your room is freaking dark and cold, you take magnesium biglycinate, which I think is the best form for most people, you limit blue light in the evening, right? Maybe you read a book instead, 1 hour before bed, and no food, no alcohol right before bed, at least 3 to 4 hours before max, okay? And you don't drink tons of water before bed because you're gonna wake up in the middle of the night and just kind of lose your sleep momentum. Those tips alone can help you, but if you need more, download my guide in the description. Now, hormone optimization. Man. Okay, we'll try to make this as simple as possible. So you look at the pendulum here. You got testosterone, you got cortisol. You get the drift, right? If your brain is like, let's make more testosterone, or you're in building mode, my friend. Okay, and that's the place you want to be most of the time. Cortisol, it's a catabolic hormone, right? It literally breaks down protein to make glucose so that you can regulate your blood sugar, right? It's a catabolic thing, right? So it suppresses testosterone to regulate blood sugar and your stress and all of that. So you cannot really build testosterone when you're in survival mode. I'm running around the bush. I'm saying it again and again. But I need to drive this home, right? You cannot build a commanding physique if you're stuck in survival mode. Okay? Testosterone builds the movie star body. Just know that. Remember that. And cortisol, well, it's going to prioritize survival and holds on to body fat. Because fat equals survival. But insulin is the secret switch. Because what it does is it shuts down cortisol when you eat carbs. Okay? And what it does, it's going to store glucose into the muscle cells, into glycogen, it's the unit of energy of carbs, or fat stores. Really, carbs is the off switch of stress. And when you don't hit the switch, you kind of stay in survival mode. So you don't really favor building testosterone. That's why it's good to have a solid serving of carb and protein right after your workout, because your cortisol is high after your workout. So you need to shut that down to kick off the recovery process. So yeah, the goal, you really want to manage cortisol and insulin at optimal levels. So balance your blood sugar throughout the day, right? Doesn't mean you have to don't take like a high carb meal at breakfast because you might feel sluggish after. So it's good to maybe rely on more complex carbs like fruits and veggies throughout the day. And maybe at night, you want to go ham perhaps on the rice, potatoes, and things like that, because it's going to help you recover, but it's also going to help you prepare for bed and, shut down and wind down. And carb backloading, that's what I just said. Reduce your stress, and taking some adaptogens could be good practice to lower your stress. I got a full guide here if you want to read it. It's going to be in my description. So yeah, we touched on more details around cortisol, what elevates it throughout the day, what to watch out for, 5 strategies for controlling it, okay, and optimizing your testosterone. So a quick side note here. If you have a high body fat, probably 20% plus, okay? We have a lot of pounds to lose. You probably have more resistance to insulin. The whole process means when you eat carbs, your cells are kind of less receptive to insulin, which is going to make your body release even more insulin as a result. So on top of having high blood sugar, you have high insulin, which is inflammatory. So that means your body basically runs on sugar and less on fat. And that is not a good environment you want to be in for producing testosterone and just in general for your health. Because if you constantly run on sugar, well, you're going to crave more of it, and you're never going to really tap into your body fat stores, right? And, carbs, if you eat lots of it, the calories can stack up really quickly, so you're in the surplus, and it's just, that's why it can lead to really, heart disease and things like that, diabetes, right? So if you're above, 15, 20% body fat, I would prioritize eating a bit more fats into your diet. Healthy fats. I hate that word. Not healthy fats, but just a variety, right, of fats. Not just saturated fats from fatty meats, but also, avocados, nuts, right, eggs, lean meats, right? Just having a variety of protein. But try to get some carbs around your workouts for fuel, right? Could be fruits, could be a sweet potato, right? Don't necessarily go for 4 cups of rice, right? Try to be smart about that. And over time, as you build your muscle mass, you'll become more sensitive to insulin. And then, think of muscle. It's like a storage tank, right? The more muscle you have, the bigger your storage tank, and the more glycogen you can put in there. So you gotta earn your carbs by building more muscle. And once you do, you can eat way more carbs while staying lean. So if you're below 15% body fat, about 20 to 30% should come from fats. That's generally good, okay? But just know that testosterone comes from cholesterol. So you need fats no matter what, okay, if you want to build testosterone. But just know that the leaner you get, the more muscle you build, the more glycogen you need to fuel your muscles. All right, 1 pound of muscle gain, did you know that, burns about 30 to 60 extra calories per day. That's why it's so easy to stay lean if you're 10% body fat, for example, and you're, 5'10", 175 pounds, you could probably maintain your weight at 2,800 calories. So it makes life much more enjoyable. Remember that the more muscle you build, the easier it is to stay lean, because your daily calories for weight, maintaining your weight, is much more higher. But if you're in a perpetual fat loss mode, it makes you lose more muscle, okay? It's going to lower your maintenance calories. You're always going to have to step down to lose more weight, and it's just going to create a cycle of having to go lower and lower and lower. The result, just going to end up looking like a skinny fat dude with low energy, low testosterone. That's not what we're aiming for. I was going to talk about this, but as I was reading through it, it's just a lot of fucking information. And I'm going to try to simplify it as much as I can, okay? Because skincare, let's be real with each other. You can have a great body, but if you have bad skin, that's just going to kill your aura. People judge before you even speak, and your skin will even speak before you spoke with your mouth. Okay, so study has shown that when you have a clear skin, for some reason people think you're more intelligent, you're more trustworthy, you're more healthier, which is clear, right? But think of a superhero, right? Captain America. Handsome, muscular, clear skin. It's a good look. People assume, yeah, he's a good guy. He's a hero. But it just goes back through our DNA, right? Our ancestors. People had to screen, members of the tribe to make sure they were safe, right? And if you have a strong genetic pool, right? If you look healthy, if you look strong, well, people are gonna trust you, right? Because if you can't hunt, if you cannot fight for yourself, you're just gonna look like a beat up guy, right? And people will assume that you're not trustworthy, you're not worth anything. But I know it's like a big generational gap, but we think that way, right? We don't think logical thinking is one thing, but when we start thinking through instincts and emotions and the limbic part of the brain, this bypasses all logic. And I think this has to do with that. And yes, our skin is aging, through adulthood. We lose collagen about 1% per year, so it's good to start early so that we can delay that process. Especially if you're approaching 30, you might want to start looking into retinoids, and if you haven't started moisturizing your face, you might as well start now. And take some sunscreen in the summer as a last step, after your moisturizer is good for that too, sun protection and all of that. You just got to be consistent and remember your lifestyle habits, right? Hydration, sleep, eating whole foods. All of this will help you remove the puffiness in your skin, give you clearer lines and a clearer skin. And that's where the soft maxing, with the angles and all of that kind of ties into play. And you got no competition, man. When you have a great body, your skin is clear, right? Like, this is really going to improve the quality of your life. Anybody who says otherwise, they've either not experienced it or they're just coping, right? Dude, your quality of life will get better, but the rest is also up to you. You got to go out there, socialize, take risk, put yourself out there, because not everybody's going to come to you, right? You might get occasional approaches here and there, but a big thing that's going to help you is that you're going to have much higher, clearer signals of interest from both guys and girls, and people will start respecting you more. People will assume that you're on top of things and you're not going to get many jabs thrown at you. And if you do, it's not going to faze you. You're just going to deflect it, and you're just going to have a different mentality around self-improvement. But I think, starting with your body, your skin, you just realize how the competition, the bar is so low. And I think this is why I want to touch on skin also. But I'm not going to go over all these slides, but just know that there's 3 types. There's normal to dry, okay? And that's just a lack of hydration, okay? What you need, it's not like an acne problem or anything like that. It's just a hydration barrier issue. That's the easiest thing to fix. Like I said, hydration. If you drink water daily, that's going to soften your lines, flush the toxins, make your face less puffy. Have a gentle cleanser. Look for something that doesn't have a shit ton of ingredients, or something that is not foamy, right? It's just something that is gentle with a low pH, okay? Do it once in the morning, once at night, but if you feel like it's too harsh on your skin, just do it once a day. Might be best to do it before bed, and in the morning, just wash your face with lukewarm to cold water, add a moisturizer, then you're good to go. So avoid things that is like deep clean, oil control, clarifying scrubs, bar soaps. I mean, if you wash your face with a Irish Spring bar, I don't know if I should call you a hero or just you're quite a fucked up human being. But this will just dry up your skin even more. So avoid also ingredients like alcohol, fragrance, sodium, lauryl sulfate, eucalyptus, any strong ingredients. Just look for something fragrance-free, sulfate-free, and something with ceramides, glycerin, hyaluronic acid. That's good for just making your skin more even. And yeah, something with oils are labeled as gentle, hydrating, or for dry skin. When I say oils, is something that is, like avocado oil, for example, something natural, right? Something that's not going to clog your pores. Quick enough like that. Number 3, use a medium to light moisturizer in the morning and something denser in the evening. Just know that oils doesn't really hydrate skin. What it does is it traps hydration. So there needs to be water underneath that, okay? So at night, you want to look for something with water binders. So glycerin, hyaluronic acid, this word again, right? And urea, which is a low percentage. Guys, I'll be honest, I'm saying ingredients here and I don't fully know what they mean. I've done research before and I just have a general sense of these ingredients and what they do. And just to say that if you stick to the basics, it doesn't have 100 ingredients on the label, you'll be fine. If you're not sure, just ask the lady working at the drugstore, whatever. Don't just take my word for it, also do your own research. But it's good to also test things out, right? But yes, you need also something with ceramides, cholesterol, fatty acids, right? Something that hydrates your skin, Shea butter kind of ties into that as well. Squalane, dimethicone, oils, which is more secondary though, not as a primary ingredients. And what it does, these ingredients is for a thick, dense moisturizer at night. That's just going to really hydrate your skin while you're sleeping. You want something that really hydrates. You're not there to impress. Your face might be a bit more greasy at night, but that's okay because we want to hydrate that. But in the morning, you want something a bit lighter, more medium, but stick with the same principles as a PM, just not with the heavy butters and things like that, okay? And yeah, test it out. It's good to don't buy a massive jar, right, when you're unsure. If you want to test things out, there's some samples you can do and things like that. Just use your head. And as the last step, apply some sunscreen for protecting the sun barrier. Retinoids could be something optional, right? That's going to increase your collagen signaling, like I touched earlier. We lose about 1% every year, so that's going to improve your skin thickness over time. It's going to even the skin tone a bit more, reduce some fine lines, signs of aging. It's not going to be instant, so that's why it's good to start in staying consistent. And creams is better than serums for dry skin. So keep that in mind. Because when you're dry, you need something more hydrating. Rules. Start slow as far as the strength for retinoids. About 0.1% to 0.3 retinol. Okay. Only at night after cleansing your face. Just right after washing. Boom. Throw some retinoids. Always follow that with a moisturizer after. So your dense moisturizer. But if you notice irritation start showing up, I would just reduce it, completely stop, or consult, as to why it's happening. Do not push through just because I told you so, right? But also it's really important to not blend retinoid with, let's say, a scrub or a chemical scrub, right? To wash your face even more. You know what I'm talking about, right? A scrub is where you feel like the grains when you're washing your face a second time, just to kind of eliminate the dead skin and stuff. If you have a retinoid on top of that, that might really irritate your skin. So pick a day where you're not using any scrub. And start with 2 times per week only. for the first few weeks. If you react well, just increase to 3 times. But you don't need to use something like that daily. Just save your money and be smart with it. And sleep. I mean, sleep applies to all skin type. That's why, you produce hormones like I talked about, collagen repair, cortisol regulation, and that's just going to make your skin look brighter and more awake, and reduce these dark circles. But there's been people talking about how it's just the bone density there getting narrower and narrower. But I've noticed it. When my sleep is shit for a few weeks, I have darker circles. So I think, take it with a grain of salt. We're all built different. But if you optimize your hydration, your sleep, overall, it's going to look better around the eyes. Now, if you're more acne prone, this is where you might need something a bit more clinical, right? Maybe you have shine around the cheeks, forehead, temples, or it's a blend of everything, pimples, scarring. You just got an overproduction of oil and clogged pores and inflammation. So it's a bit of a problem, right? The goal is to really reduce excess sebum, right? Prevent pore congestion and calm the inflammation down. So solution. Well, hydration and sleep still applies, right? There's really nothing to add here. Keep the same lifestyle habits as I touched on, and additionally, try to remove some added sugars into your diet, right? Processed foods and all of that just doesn't help with inflammation. I have a cleanser, but something that is less gentle than, the dry, sensitive skin. So I have something that cleans a bit more. Pick something that is more on the gel side, low pH also, or maybe a foaming cleanser with oil-soluble actives. So that's going to be deeper, a more effective delivery in skin. It's going to have a deeper wash. Salicylic acid, 0.5 to 2%. That's the key ingredients. That's really the thing that's going to help with the acne. Okay. Also natural ingredients like zinc, niacinamide. I think that's good. A good ingredients for everybody. Really, that's good for. I believe it's for skin tone, right? To even out the skin more, and a gentle surfactants. What to avoid though? Similar than the normal to dry skin, like you don't want to go with bar soaps or something with high alcohol, right? And any fragrance or physical scrubs, because this will strip off too much, and the stripping off will cause also an overdrive in oil production even more. It's just going to rebound faster. Number 3, you might want to exfoliate a bit more, because exfoliation is kind of it's like a skin. It's like a snake skin, right? You want to cut some layers one by one, and that's going to help, So after cleansing, you want to exfoliate at least 2 to 3 times per week. That's going to prevent clogging the pores, manage your oil flow, keeping your inflammation lower. And it's also going to remove dead skin, making your skin a bit more smoother. And it's going to help you look more youthful and reflect light better. Texture. There's different type of scrubs. I think chemical is a better way, because that's liquid. You can put it on a cotton pad and then just rub it instead of having this sort of grainy cream, right? Which if you go hard or something, it can, strip your skin a bit more. So I think the chemical is the best, base as far as scrubs. And I think this one, the salicylic acid formula, the BHA, I think it's the default one you want to use for acne-prone skin. It's oil soluble. It's going to go inside the pores and reduce breakouts at the source. Moisturizer, same thing, from then normal to dry skin, but we want to use something that lightly hydrates. Okay, you may think that moisturizing and not oily prone skin makes things worse, but you know, on the contrary, if you don't hydrate your skin at least a bare minimum, you're going to create more oil to compensate, right? Same thing goes for hair, right? If you have a deep wash shampoo, it might kick off oil production in overdrive. So you want to just have something balanced, just to keep the natural oil production going, right? Just want to stay in the middle. For texture on the moisturizer, look for something light, gel, lotion, or fluid that is oil-free or low oil and not comedogenic, okay, not prone to clog pores, because that's not what we want. You're going to see ingredients popping up again, similar to what I touched on earlier: glycerin, niacinamide, ceramide, zinc. These overall, just know that these ingredients, they help with hydration and keep the oil and inflammation in check. Oh, so I said no more dry. I confuse sometimes. Maybe I said sensitive and dry. So just know that the first one is normal and dry. This last one is sensitive and dry skin. Okay. So this is where you can see it's a bit more redness around the face there. Okay, maybe you have a tight feeling, a burning feeling around the face. Occasional breakouts, you know, you react to weather. When you shave, you have really bad, like razor bumps and things like that. So your skin is basically on over alert. So we have to remove things and keep it simple at first, and then add stuff as we improve our skin. It's just our skin really overreacting, and the barrier is fragile, so we want to stabilize that. Same thing, hydration, sleep. Nothing different here. And eliminate now irritants, action number 2. So anything with fragrance in it, anything that has alcohol, okay, or at the very least is on top of the ingredients list. If alcohol is right at the top, if it's like 6, 7 or whatever in small quantity, fine, but if it's right at the top, remove it. Also remove anything with strong acids or exfoliants. And you just want to remove as many ingredients as possible, because you don't want your skin to react, and you don't really know what makes your skin react. So the less ingredients, the better. The more natural, the better. Just start with a basic cleanser and a moisturizer only, and then you build from there. You don't need anything extravagant. So similar to normal and dry, something that is not really foaming, not many acids, no scrub, but go even more gentler than the normal to dry skin. Ask the lady at Shoppers Drug Mart or whatever if you're in the States, okay? Or ask the virtual agent on Olive Young for those Korean skincare junkie. And if your skin is very sensitive, only cleanse about once per night. And only rinse your face with water in the morning. Don't wash it, just rinse your face. And then add your moisturizer after. And just try to feel it out. If your skin kind of feels tight after washing, the cleanser might be too harsh, right? So you want to perhaps either change your approach, go buy something else, which is why it's good to have samples and test things out. Don't buy the biggest size, because you know it says, oh, you save 37% by buying the 500 ml. Just be mindful of that. And same rules for moisturizer. Focus on ceramides, cholesterol, fatty acids, and just a short ingredient list. No fragrance, remember, fragrance free. All right, that's pretty much everything for the system reboot. So we touch on Well, now you kind of know the power behind building a movie star body. You kind of know why, the reasons as to why you couldn't get there, and the simple basics as to what really elevates your physique, from the lifestyle habits, right, to how to optimize your hormones and all that. We didn't touch on the fitness side of things as much. This is more geared towards your lifestyle and just optimizing your skin and also your mental clarity, focus, and all of that, and just getting more leaner naturally. We're going to touch next on the fitness side and supplements and all of that, the strategies, how to get that primal physique look you're after. You're going to get programs, don't worry, okay? This is a big course. It's heavy, and you know, I'm figuring things out as I go, so this might not be the most entertaining video ever, but I'm sure you're getting value from this, 100%, okay? So now you know the power behind a movie star body, the key lifestyle habits to get you there, the reasons you couldn't get there, the roles of testosterone, cortisol, insulin, all these key hormones, and also how skincare can really amplify and accentuate your overall look, because your skin speaks also, right? It's important to keep notice of that. So what I want you to do this week, double down on these key lifestyle habits. Pick 1 to 3, master them, then add the next one, the next one, the next one, until you can master all of them. Sleep, I think, is the biggest one you should start with right away. But yeah, also drink 3 liters of water, minimum, daily. Get 7 to 9 hours of sleep. Eat whole foods, 80% of your total calories. In the future videos, we'll start talking about nutritional protocols and things like that. Okay? Aim for 8 to 10K steps daily, minimum, and 30 grams of fibers, minimum, daily. That's a given if let's say you eat 3K calories. That's about 30 grams of fibers. Get some sun, you know, at least 20, 30 minutes daily. At least 2 to 3 times per week. Ideally, man, it's every day, okay? Vitamin D intake. Remember that formula if you're not sure. Take your weight in pounds, divide by 25, multiply by 1,000. That's the IUs you need. And read my sleep guide. Pick the best strategies that can work for you. Download's going to be in the description. And also my cortisol guide to manage your stress. You know, just overall analyze your life, where you can lower that stress, maintain a good balance, and just pick the best tools to manage your stressors. And then implement, just try to find a basic skincare routine if you don't have one already. Maybe if you skip that whole part because you already have good skin, that's fine too. But try to identify your skin type. Oh, I remember I created a prompt towards that. I might add it in the description. If I don't, just take what you've got from this video, do your own research, and rewind, find your skin type, and just take notes of the ingredients, and then go ask that lady, is this right for me? Would you say I have this skin type and all of that? It's good to talk with professionals, okay? I'm just throwing some recommendations and from my own research, but it's also good to do your own and not just buying something out of the blue with high doses and all of that. So test things out. And if you need accountability, more help, DM me, reach out to me. I have different resources. I also have one-on-one coaching. But what I think is most important is I want to help you discover where you're stuck, and then finding that optimal solution for you at this point in time. And if it's coaching, great. If it's other resources I can throw at you, that's great also. But I just want to get my reps in, right? I'm new to the space, and I want to deliver results and improve everyone's life. Because when you feel like you're behind in life, you're not sure where you want to go, you're struggling, you know, staying in shape, making more money, dating, keeping a social life, finding your purpose. It's just a lot of things to juggle all at the same time, and we just can feel very lost at times. And my goal is to help you with that. So if you need more help, reach out. That's it for this video. Okay, if you need more, just write down in the comments if you have any questions with that. And yeah, the next video is going to be about building that primal physique, more on the practical side of things, and throwing you a program. That's my dog. But yes, that's it for today. See ya.